Why now? Why is there an awakening happening on Earth right now with the collective energy, with many people deconstructing from old beliefs, wanting to do deep healing work, wanting to understand themselves on a spiritual level or on an intuitive level, wanting to understand their spiritual gifts? Why is there massive amount of people awakening right now? In this episode, I'm going to share a little bit about why this is happening at this particular time on Earth and how the energies are kind of pushing us into this time period for our expansion as a human race and for the entire universe. Welcome to the Soul Alignment Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Angie, and I'm inviting you to explore the depths of self-sabotage, limiting mindsets, and the beliefs that hinder our progress in life. Through intuitive messages I receive from my spirit team, I share profound insights to help you live authentically and break free from these limitations. Join me now as we uncover all the keys to living your best life. Welcome back. My name is Angie, and I'm your Soul Alignment Mentor, bringing you intuitive messages from my spirit team to help you align with your most authentic and highest self. So if you have noticed, or if you found my channel, or you have been following me for a while, then you know that there's something strange happening in the world. There is this awakening happening with humanity, and there's a lot of things happening that seem kind of scary or destructive or out of control. And there is this theme of people wanting better, but kind of fighting against the old ways of things. There's also this idea of us versus them. And I kind of want to explain to you about what's really happening within the energy of that and why we do have this even more than ever feeling of us against them. And why this is kind of amplified at this time for us to see for the expansion and the awakening of humanity. Before I dive into that, I just want to let you know that if you are looking for any kind of spiritual mentorship, healing, or awakening, deconstruction support, I do have some one-on-one openings right now, and you are welcome to look in the links below for my Ascension membership. I have weekly one-on-one sessions, I have bi-weekly one-on-one sessions, and I have group sessions if you just want to join in for the Ascension membership, where we meet twice a month, sometimes more, and we talk and we support each other and we do a healing circle. So those sessions really are supportive and helpful, and often people walk away feeling like I just had a one-on-one session with you. So I encourage you to come hang out with us. It's only $25 a month for that first tier, and we would love to have you join us in that group. So let's dive into what's happening energetically in this world. We, as the human race, have been going through, since the beginning of time, since we started the human race, since the human race was created, through a process of expansion and awakening. We have been going through what we would call the life-death cycle. So we have created life. We've all, possibly most of us, have lived a past life, and we've been coming back to Earth, working on themes and lessons and things that we have desired to grow in and expand in and understand in our soul. Now, a lot of people are like, well, why the heck would we want to come to Earth to do that? Well, Earth is a place where we learn the most in the universe. We learn the most because it's such a dense, hard, heavy energy here that we actually create this breaking down of something to rebuild it. And in that, we become stronger in our soul. Our frequency becomes higher. We have more understanding of who we are in our true form, our soul. And for that evolution to take place, we put ourselves into positions where we can forget who we are to then remember who we are. And so each time we have come into a life cycle, the life death cycle, there have been themes that we've brought into our earthly life, and then themes that we took from that life that we wanted to come and continue to work on. So within your first incarnation on earth, you likely develop some type of what we would call karma. And that karma is something that you've been recreating or trying to work through throughout your lifetimes. And each time we come to earth, we can build more karma based on what we do or the things that we experience in that lifetime. Now, for those of us who are going through the awakening and that we are here on earth to move into what we would call 5D or new earth energy, we are likely on our last reincarnation into the 3D world and are ready to advance into something at a higher frequency. So we are creating a new experience in the 5D energy. We are creating a new world, a new frequency for us to be in and learn with. Now, there's a whole nother thing I could go into as far as frequencies and dimensions and how those work. But for the sake of this particular teaching, I want to stay within the 3, 4, and 5th dimensions. These are the dimensions that we are currently able to experience within this human life experience that we are in right now. Many of you, if you are here and you are watching this and you've been here for the last however long this video has been, you are likely at least in the 4D or shifting into a 4D thinking. And the more you integrate into the 4D, the more you understand yourself. The 4D is about expansion and growth and releasing traumas and dense energy and healing and awakening and seeing yourself in the world around you differently and just creating more awareness of your true self within this 4D. And as you enhance in your ability to understand yourself in the 4D energy, you then start to awaken into what we call a 5D frequency, which is aligned more so with your true self of your higher frequency, your soul. And so as you move into a higher frequency into the 5D, you start to be much more aware of the spiritual aspects of the world around you, of yourself, and how these things are a part of our experience. You might start to tap into spiritual gifts a little bit more. You might start to channel. You might start to see things like I've known people that have started to see energy. I've known people that have been able to open up their psychic abilities, their mediumship abilities, like I said, channeling abilities. Like these are all things that we come back into. It's not necessarily that we haven't always had them. It's that we lived in such a dense frequency that we almost purposely did not want to have connection with this part of ourselves so we could evolve and learn from being separate so we could grow and expand in our awareness of ourselves. And so as we've awakened, as we move into a higher frequency, this is the spiritual awakening that we as a collective are going through. We're coming into a new awareness of who we are and what the world around us is, and the truth and reality beyond the human experience of what we are and what we're doing here. So I won't dive too much into that, but I want to talk about what is happening, particularly in the energy right now, why there's so much happening and why there's a global awakening even happening at all right now. And I want to start with talking about the 2 different themes. And you may have heard about this, and I have a couple notes over here that I'm going to refer to, but you may have heard at some point if you've been watching or following any kind of social media for spiritual awakening, or maybe this is your first time hearing it, but we are shifting out of a new or an old age into a new age. And the old age that we're shifting out of is called the age of Pisces. The new age that we are shifting into is the age of Aquarius. So these are astrology signs. And they have different themes, they have different energies, and they have different purposes for being a part of the earth. And about every 2000 or so years, the earth will go through a transformation where it moves into a new astrology sign, and that astrology sign will bring a new awareness and new understanding to the earthly realm. And so we have been going through many different frequencies within the earth's expansion, and just like we all have our own individual frequencies and we all have our own astrology sign and birth charts, the earth has its own astrology sign and birth chart for its birth and its expansion and its growth. And so if we were to look at the earth as a living entity, a being, Mother Earth, this feminine divine planet, is birthing itself into a new energy, which is that 5D. Because as humans, because we are one with the earth, as humans evolve, the earth evolves. And so we are almost like creating this new experience together with Mother Earth, which is a really beautiful process of, again, coming back into that life-death cycle. So let's talk about the age of Pisces first. So the age of Pisces was from around 1 AD to 2000 AD. And so for the last 2000 years, we have had this energy from the Pisces kind of ruling the earth, ruling our energy, ruling our beliefs. The age of Pisces created a lot of things within the last 2000 years that build up this structure and this belief that we have all been programmed with. And so the themes that were taking place in the age of Pisces from 1 AD to 2000 AD was a focus on faith and religion, a focus on having an external savior, something outside of me that's going to save me. So if you were to look at religion, there's normally something that you have to go to, or you have to pray to, or you have to ask for forgiveness to, or you serve, or this something outside of myself is giving me power. Something outside of myself is giving me healing. Something outside of myself I have to give my life to, because that is where the power comes from. So it's a very outward focused energy in the age of Pisces. It's within the 2000 years of the age of Pisces, religion was created. So whatever religion that could have been for you, that really emerged within the last 2000 years. The symbol of the Pisces, the fish, so I will put a picture up here. The Pisces fish has two fish within it, the symbol, and that the two fish represent duality, confusion, and martyrdom. So what it is the yin and yang, light and darkness. So it's the two kind of conflicting with each other, and the confliction causes the confusion and the disconnect from our true selves, from one another, from hierarchy to kind of the normal life of humans. So there's all these like duality things, like above, people more important than others, people with more power, the church setting, like whatever that might be, that you can kind of wrap your mind around, where a power is over something else. And so that was kind of the theme of what the 2000 years were. And then the belief system that was created within the age of Pisces was all about, like I said, the external authority. Something outside of myself is more powerful than I am. I must serve this. I must give of my time to this. I must be devoted to something to have worth, or to have power, or to have a purpose in my life. And it was all about spiritual devotion and sacrifice, or suffering even sometimes. But there was a lot of power through control of beliefs that were created within the age of Pisces. A lot of illusions, a lot of things where they took the old ways before 1 AD and kind of manipulated them for the purpose of a hierarchy to control other humans. So they created beliefs out of the truth, and they kind of manipulated and changed things so that there was a hierarchy for like the church to be over the people or to have control in some type of way, which then created for humans a victim mindset where we became the victim, where we had to come to somebody else to be made righteous in some type of way, like born as sinners, born evil, born into the world needing a savior, needing something to make us good and better and worthy of something, more powerful than who we really are. It also brought in with it a deep longing for connection with God. Like we develop this belief that somebody else is going to get me to God, that I have to do this, and then that will open up my door to have connection with God. So it, depending on the kind of religion that you might have been in, maybe going to the priest to confess sins, or maybe having to go to church so often, maybe having to read your Bible, pray, maybe obeying these rules or not sinning in this way, just developing this belief that I have to be and do something to have worth or value or pureness in God's eyes. It really brought up in this age a lot of religious wars. There was a lot of wars around religion. The church and the elite really started to repress truth from the common people, where the power was distorted, where it was in some people's hands and some people didn't have power. And so it created this, again, the yin and yang of the Pisces, the light and darkness, the two fish swimming in opposite directions, where some people had more power than other people. So it was really about disempowerment of the people, was the age of Pisces. And we, as a people, were waiting for something to come and save us. We were waiting for somebody to step up and make things right for us. Now, as we awaken, and this awakening really started to take place around 2000, but I would say even in the 1900s, which sounds so weird to say, for those of us that were born in the 1900s, clear back to probably 1960 and moving forward to 2000 is when a lot of us that are awakening started to come into Earth, maybe even 1950s, where we came into Earth, and at some point we have suddenly started to awaken or see things differently. We may have been like thinking, I'm no longer giving my power away to something outside of myself. And so the awakening started to really take place before we even started to shift into a new frequency and energy, where we're moving into the age of Pisces, or age of Aquarius. So we're moving away from the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius, which is where we are now. So around 2000 is when things really started to kind of transform. And if you think back through history, me being, born within in 80, I saw how the world was before we had cell phones, before we had, some color TV, even before we had computers or internet, like all these things that have evolved. But I also was around when like rights were starting to be given to women, and like the power structure started to kind of shift a little bit. Like in even the years prior, the 20, 30 years prior to me being born, there was a lot of things that were starting to be shaken up, where the power was starting to shift a little bit, and the people were saying, wait, no, I have rights too. I should be able to do this. I can create my own experience. And so we started kind of rebelling against the old way. And then when we get into the 2000s, it enhances, it increases. We start, like, the internet starts, taking over, social media, like all these things start to develop. And this is what the age of Aquarius brings in. It is an evolution, it's a evolving, and it's an expansion of consciousness and science and technology is what the age of Aquarius brings in. And we can all look back in the last 5 years, particularly, and see a huge shift that's happening on the earth since COVID. And COVID kind of brought in a new energy for humans. And a lot of people started to have spiritual awakenings around that time because it was a global energy and a global experience where we began to see things a little bit differently than maybe what we'd seen before, that we are all one, we're all on this earth together. And there were some people that did not awaken, but many of us at that time started to increase our questioning, increase our awareness, really starting to be like, this is not necessarily something I agree with or that I believe anymore. A lot of people started to leave a church around that time. I myself, if you have not heard my story in some of my other videos, I had crazy experiences most of my life, but I know that I started to really, awaken around 2004, but my true, intense awakening that I could not ever deny is in 2016. And that's when I basically feel like I had a near-death experience and awoken and saw everything different in my life. And so I have been evolving for the last 9 years or more in the understanding of the earth and being able to see these transitions from that view of my higher self and the spiritual understanding of it. And so as we move into the age of Aquarius, which is causing this expansion of consciousness in a global spiritual awakening, it is the focus of this energy is the awakening, is collective evolution, is individual sovereignty, us taking our power back, believing in our own worth, being able to create our own experience without looking to something outside of ourselves or needing a savior or needing a hierarchy system or needing somebody to make things better for us. We start to want to create a new experience and understanding our own personal power, that we don't have to necessarily live a life under the control of another person or human. And that could be in any setting, within your job, within a marriage, within, a collective group of people. Like, we're all coming to the point of like allowing each other to stand in their own worth and their own power without having to compare or bring in this contrast of I'm better than you and you're less than, kind of a thing. And so we're coming into individual power is really what it is. And the age of Pisces, so the age of Aquarius, the Aquarius is symbolized by water. So Aquarius is the water bearer. It is the truth poured onto humanity. So what is happening is the higher consciousness of who we are, like I was talking about the different dimensions, the 5D opening up and pouring down into the human consciousness for us to have awakening back into our truth, because we've evolved into the point of being able to understand from a different perspective who we are. So we are coming into an inner truth of conscious beings, as spiritual beings, as divine souls having a human experience. We are rising in our awareness of our unique frequency and the power of our energy and energy healing and intuition and quantum physics, quantum healing, quantum awareness, quantum having an understanding everything around us is energy. I am energy, you are energy, everything is energy, and that we can connect through energy. We can read things, we can understand things through energy, we can telepathically read and hear things through our mind and our energy. And so coming into this realization of how powerful we truly all are. This is also an age where community is rebuilt, where equal rights come back into freedom, unity, and this is what we're seeing right now, particularly, I mean, it's happening all over the earth, but particularly in the United States, where this group is starting to rise up and saying, no, we are one. We are humans. We have a right to create and be who we desire to be without somebody else telling us how to be or how to live or how to believe. And so there's this revolution of expansion and understanding that we create our own experience, and whatever we create is our own doing, and we either have the consequence for it or we have the evolution for it. And so taking the understanding that we are the powerful creators of our reality, and we don't have to look to something outside of us to create that reality for us. And so what we're kind of in this time of is working against the old system and telling the old system, you no longer are what we need. And the old system, the people and the energies that are still holding on to the old system are grasping with their knuckles really tight, saying, no, we want to continue this power because it benefits us. It gives us what we desire. So the church or the elite or the government or whatever that might be, they still have this old thinking and energy of the age of Pisces that they're grasping onto, because that is what gave them power in that era, in that age. Now the power is shifting to the people, and it is causing panic, and it's causing discord, and it is causing upheaval. And a lot of people are revolting and not wanting to give into this power anymore, which then makes the power want to fight even more for its own power. So you can see how that is kind of playing out as we are moving through this into the age of Pisces or age of Aquarius. Apologize, I keep saying that. Some more truth of the age of Aquarius is that we are working on releasing emotional attachments. We are releasing the idea that something outside of us controls how we feel. We are coming back into the understanding that we are able to heal ourselves, that we are able to release karma and trauma, that we don't have to continue the same cycle of what may be family lineage that we've been born in. We're coming into the understanding that we are powerful and that we don't have to continue creating something that no longer is helpful or serving us or even healthy. We are starting to develop more of our spiritual understanding of divine beings as well. And we're rebelling. Because each of us are starting to come to this awareness and understanding of, wait, I think I have a purpose. My purpose isn't here to just make somebody else's life better. My purpose isn't here to just go to this place and just do something just to survive my life. My purpose is whatever that might be for you. And that's why you see a lot of the younger generation, I would say 30 and younger, rebelling in some type of way against working certain jobs or doing certain things. And that's because they're coming in with a higher consciousness, and the old way of doing things, they're not going to want to conform to it because it doesn't fit in who they are. Those of us that are older, we've gone through that place where we were taught, you do this one thing for your whole life and you just suck up and you just deal with it. But some of us are even waking up to that. And the younger generation's kind of an example for us to understand that we have the ability to create a life that we desire and that we love and that is worth wanting to live and having fun with, instead of just giving our power to something else and just doing something just because we were told we have to do it. So as we are in this cusp of moving between the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, you will see what's happening around us is the breaking down of old systems. And that is happening rapidly right now. And many of these things have been helpful for humanity in some type of way. And so it's really kind of causing some fear and some, people wanting to fight against that because they know that they have served, there's some certain things that have served us in the way they needed to up until this point. But in order for something new to come in, something has to be broken down. The religious understandings, the politics, the education, the, all the things that we have built things upon, that foundation has to be rebuilt so that it can be created in a new energy. And I was just talking with my Ascension group this last week or a couple weeks ago, and I, coming from the mental health field myself, working in mental health my whole life, my heart is within that field. My heart is within serving and helping people to heal and working through trauma. And when I had heard that some money had been taken away through like grants or things like that for the mental health field, my heart ached for those programs because my passion resided there. It kind of hit me where my pain points are. But then when I tuned in to a higher perspective in my higher self explained to me, well, why do you think that you're here? Why do you think that you've awoken? Why do you think that you're being called to be a healer in the way that you are? Because in order for us to continue to evolve, even those things have to be shifted and changed. Even those things have to have a new awareness of how to serve and how to help people heal and how to help bring expansion to the consciousness. It's not just about putting band-aids on people's wounds. It's not just about learning a coping skill. It's not just about talking something out. It's about deep transformation. It's about deep healing. It's about awakening to your inner truth. It's about alignment. And so as we step into the awareness of who we are as spiritual divine beings, even that kind of thing is going to be dismantled and rebuilt, and different parts of systems will come back, but then there's going to be brand new systems that are built out of this new awareness and understanding of who we are as spiritual beings. So we're going to be more about healing through energy and the spiritual connection than we are through the talk therapy or the things that have been kind of ruling the way things have happened. So those are just a couple examples. So we are going to continue to see more and more spiritual awakenings happening for humanity as we move forward. And those of us that have been awoken a little bit longer, we are here as guides to help humanity to continue to shift and to be able to understand that it is okay to choose self. It is okay to heal. It is okay to let go of the old patterns and beliefs, because it can be scary to do that as well. Even though on the other end of it, on the other side, is freedom and amazing things waiting, it's still scary because we haven't been there yet. We don't know what that's like. We don't know what freedom feels like. We don't know what manifestation of abundance feels like. So we have to train ourselves to trust what comes next. And those of us that are a little bit further along in this have been able to develop that understanding so we can be the examples for those of that will be continuing to awaken. There will be people that cling to the past. There will be people that cling to what we did have. And our job isn't necessarily to fight against that or to try to force them to change. Our job is to be light and examples of what could be if they did let go. And there's a very big possibility there are still humans and spirits on earth that have yet gone through the evolution of their soul and therefore will not move into the 5D energy because they're not yet done learning their lessons in the 3D. And so if they were to reincarnate into another lifetime, they might reincarnate into another 3D reality to then expand and experience that and then eventually move into a 5D themselves. So we can't put our own judgments like we have in the age of Pisces, where we try to control people and tell them what to believe and how to believe and what was right and what was wrong. We can't keep using that old system to help people awaken. We hold light, we hold love, we hold the example, we hold space, we hold compassion, and that is what allows other people to shift into a different consciousness and rise in their frequency. So those of us that have been and are awakened, we are being called into this new energy where we release the fear and we step into the freedom, where we release the illusions in which we have been taught and we step into the truths of who we are. And in that, we hold the frequency and the light of the 5D, which then increases the vibration of the earth and the vibration of humanity. And we all rise into the new earth frequency together. Whew. So I hope this helped. That was a lot of information. And I know that it's probably a lot to pull in and try to comprehend. But take some time with this. Don't try to force yourself into understanding this, and just sit with it. And if you need to rewatch this. But just trust that what is happening, even though it doesn't look like it's positive at this time, is actually happening for a purpose and a reason, so that we can evolve into a higher purpose, into a higher frequency, into unity and love here on earth, which is going to be very beautiful when we get through this stage that we're in of the tearing down and the destruction of the old. Again, if you were wanting support of any kind, or if you would like to have a healing session or a reading, feel free to reach out. I am here to support you. And until we meet again, I wish you the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. I send you all the universal love. Namaste.